Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode from, of course,
China.
my name is Fernando, and
I'm Ziv.
today we are with Jerome Bryant. So, Ziv, tell us a little bit about him.
Jerome Bryant is from the USA. He came to China as an English teacher, worked his way up to be the head of English program in the Dongguan Foreign Language School. He dedicates most of his time away from school being an up-and-coming comedian. He made people laugh in China, Malaysia, and the USA. And just a few months ago, he opened for the very funny Joe Wong. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys, for sure. Good to be
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Cool. So, why don't you tell us something that Ziv did not say? Anything that's kind of like outstanding about you? Something you would like people to know about you?
Man. Well, I mean, he did a pretty good job. I mean, I did come from the U.S. I grew up, though, like, I guess when coming from the USA, everybody's like, where you come from? Because they always think, USA is so big, so many states, especially if you're from America. So they're like, where'd you come from? So I was actually a military brat. That was a big thing that, growing up, military brat. So living in a lot of places, like one of my places I love is Texas. And then I spent a lot of time in Idaho because my family was from there. So I don't know if you guys knew, but I'm half black, half white. So
Oh, are you?
yeah, you can see it.
I thought you're pink.
Probably the lights are proper.
Maybe the light it makes me fade into what you guys are, but
What are you today?
right. I feel like I'm a little bit more black today.
Okay. All right. Okay.
No, I'm just playing. But yeah, so growing up, like I had my white family in, Idaho. So it was kind of like, it was just a huge dynamic there, doing that. So growing up in that way.
All right. So I want to start talking then a little bit about teaching. We're not going to go too deep into that because you don't want to talk too much about that. But we feel that it's an interesting thing to talk about because a lot of people can take it as a gateway into China.
Of course.
Sort of like what you've done. So how long have you been teaching here in China, for example?
So it's going on, 4.5 years now. It's almost 5 years. It's going on.
What made you choose China as a teaching destination?
Just to get, it was one of those things in life where I was just at a point where I was like, I need to get out and explore before I get married and have kids. Right. And I was like, I want to go.
Ball and chain.
Yeah. The old ball and chain. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So I was like, I don't want to do that quite yet. I'm going to go to China and explore, Southeast Asia because I've never really been there. And then I'll come back to America and I'm going to stay and I'm going to find a girl and get married and have kids.
Did you always think that you would live abroad?
Oh, no, I never thought. I thought I would come here for a year and then go back. That's what I thought. I'm going to be here for 1 year.
1 year.
And that's it.
How many are you here now?
Almost 5.
5 years, right. Okay.
So tell us what's your feeling about teaching in China? What's it like? I mean, for somebody who's thinking about, hey, what if I wanted to go to China and teach? I have a lot to say, but we want to hear from you.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty sure what you've said hits everything on the button. And it's kind of what you said earlier. It comes down to when you come here, you can break off and do whatever you want to do when you come here. Just getting here, teaching English, maybe teach for a couple years.
The visa.
Get the visa, get to know the lay of the land, get to know people, and you can pretty much do anything. I've seen people come here and do everything. They've come here as a teacher, and then now they own a restaurant. They come here as a teacher, then now they're dancing in something, and then maybe they've started a YouTube channel.
Is it easy?
It's no, of course it's not easy, but it's a grind. I mean, and dealing with everything we deal with on a daily basis, moving to a whole new country, that will deter a lot of people to stay, unfortunately.
Is it a similar salary like to the US, like someone that is thinking of coming here now?
Well, if you factor in taxes in the US.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like taking away taxes and everything that we're paying, I don't know. I know a lot of people here. It's just my lifestyle is different maybe than yours. You guys have cars and you have a lot of, like, you have 2 kids and I just have 1 kid now. I don't know. It's just a lot of my bills I really can't. But if I had the same exact thing I have now and we lived in America and I had my all cable and all these other little expenses that I love that I don't have those now.
So quality of life is good.
Oh man, it's awesome.
Right.
And it's so cheap. Like
one of the main things is that you end up having more ability to save money. So I always tell a lot of people, look, if you want to get out of debt, for example, if you're deep in debt, back in the States, credit card, whatever, if you come to China or student loans, I got a very good friend of mine who's from Colombia. He's also American. He's here basically to pay for his student loans, and then he's off somewhere else. Because, you can save a lot of money month after month after month, and then that helps a lot.
Right.
And that's exactly what right now, that's the only reason I'm staying really, I mean, in to be honest, is like to stay in the teaching is to pay off the debt that I have
Student loan.
and my student loans. And I paid off all my other debt. The only thing I have right now is my student loans from my master's.
And you can travel Southeast Asia. Really
Sure,
nicely.
which is also cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not right now.
From
but,
here, yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why I always tell people you want to be near the South. You want to be
Of
near Hong
course.
Kong because then you can. It's a
You
hub.
can go anywhere. You can go anywhere from Hong Kong. I mean, you can go anywhere from Beijing and Shanghai too. But I feel like Guangdong's like, this is the place, man. This is where you got to be.
Did you know that it's I mean relatively easy to get a teaching job in China for an American?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody know that just like
Not everybody knows, no. But I had a friend here who was already here. You know,
Okay.
I mean, you know him. So he was already here. I was already knowing that he could do it. And his brother, I was really good friends with too. He said, come here. But he was telling me to go to another place, not China. He was telling me to go to Saudi and like Oman and stuff like that, Middle East. And I was like, I don't know if
Too
that's
hot?
going to work out. Yeah, it's too hot. Yeah, it's just too hot.
pretty
That's
hot
what
It's
it
the
was.
weather, yeah.
Yeah, it's the weather. That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned that you're half and half. How did
It
that
sounds
affect
like-
your teaching?
milk or coffee. Half and half.
We're
Starbucks.
amongst comedians. How does that
Oh, man.
affect your
So-
teaching?
The sad thing is being black is like, so I mean, yeah, we deal with this in this whole racist topic in America all the time. I'm like, black people look at me like I'm white people look at me like I'm black. It's just what happens. But when I get here, Chinese people, I mean, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying when some people are looking for teachers, one of the things they kind of they look for are white teachers. They want
Yeah.
white teachers because they feel, I guess maybe white teachers are smarter, or maybe they speak better English, or they're not dangerous. I don't know.
They feel like if you're white, they have no doubts about you.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, if you're black, like, is he African? Where's he from?
Yeah.
And then all the negative connotations
Yep.
that come
Top
from
of the
Is he
pyramid, the
dangerous?
white
Yeah.
Westerner.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
if you're white, they're like, okay, come, please,
Yeah.
just come on. You don't even have to do
Right. Even-
anything to show.
So non-native, someone non-native white.
Well,
It
not-
used to be easier to get a
Look,
teaching job
nowadays
than,
you get job posts that said like, oh, we're looking for Russian teachers,
right.
Mhm.
Why?
from Russian English teachers, and you're like, what? And then my biggest point there is, what's the difference between a Russian English teacher and a Chinese English teacher? They're both non-natives. So why are you going for the white face?
He's white.
Why are you going for the white face?
to have it in there.
So
Right.
what? A Russian, a white Russian teacher would be cheaper than an American.
Of
that's
course,
the
Oh,
thing?
of
yeah, for
course.
sure.
Okay.
There's a couple of things.
Right.
It will be cheaper. Number two, it will be
And they
illegal.
still get that white. Yeah, but they
Would
still
be
get that
legal?
white face.
It's illegal.
It's illegal.
It's illegal. Like, for example, from June last year, it's illegal for non-natives to teach in China, in Dongguan.
Right.
It's been in China, but it's implemented at different stages, different cities.
And they're still looking for Russians?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, of course, because it's just
it
cheaper.
comes down to it.
Right.
It's money and the face.
I guess good
That's all they want.
opportunities for them. Yeah.
So
Well,
if
I
you're
would not
Russian-
encourage anybody to do
Right.
that. It's not worth that black stain in your passport. It's just not worth
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You get
Right.
deported. Don't get to travel anymore, and yeah.
But also, I heard like in one of the schools my daughter went to, there were two Russian girls teaching, and they get really low salary. Like it was like 3,000 RMB or something. And
Yeah.
I don't know if they even know it's low. I mean, but it's crazy. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
true. They probably don't know.
A
that
lot of
they're-
times they don't though, because they'll be
Right.
like, "Hey, don't say anything to blah blah blah." And da, da, da.
Right.
And a lot of these people that come illegally, they know they can't do things on the up and up, so they go through agents. So the agents kind of like they teach them.
So what happened with me is when I first came here, I went through an agency.
Right.
Found out that's the most horrible thing you can do.
I keep hearing this all
Right
the time.
away.
all the time.
Oh, they did everything, bro. Like everything you hear that's the worst thing that can happen to a person happened to me. That's why I had to go back and then get all my stuff, my ducks in a row to get back and get a Z visa to come back here, like and do it the right way.
But I guess that's what you find online, the agents. Like,
Oh,
how
yeah, for
else can you
sure.
come here for
Exactly.
like someone that want to
And-
come here?
And the agency is going to put you here under the worst circumstances, and
Right.
I mean, and they're giving you like a student visa. They're like, hey, you should, as long as you're going to school, you can teach. And in your mind, you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then you meet other foreigners and they're like,
No, you're
no, yeah, don't do this.
So what's your recommendation for someone that's looking at this and thinking, okay, I can go teach in China for the beginning and then do something else, but he goes online searching for what? I mean, what can you find that's not agent?
I don't even like, I'm not an agent, so I don't know.
Right.
Like to tell you I mean, like I would probably try to communicate with somebody that's actually teaching over there in a school.
Yes, that's
And
what I
then-
always tell people.
Yeah.
Like whatever offer you get, if you're talking to an agent, if you're talking to a school, tell them, okay, put me in contact with 5 other teachers at your center,
Okay.
5 other teachers at your school. Not one, because they will always find a friend.
Always, yeah.
Give me 5 emails and I'll talk to them, and then they'll tell me how things are. And then I'll be able to, like
and then
corner
they
to
tell you
corner.
no. And
Oh, yes, I'm like, okay, good. I'll go
Of
to the
course,
next one
yeah.
because there's
Right.
thousands of offers out there.
Thousands.
But I wanted to ask you about your lead teacher. You're leading a team of teachers.
Mhm.
How hard, how easy is it to manage foreigners here in China? Is there?
That's a good one.
Oh man, do you
This
know
is
the
going-
people that I
No, I don't think he knows
Yeah,
anyone.
you know
I
some
know
of
some
them.
of them,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and I know that some of them might be difficult.
like it's not the fact that it's just some people are just feel like they shouldn't have someone looking after them per se,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, think of like I don't know how old you guys. How old are you guys?
40,
yeah,
40
40,
47.
47, 40,
40.
yeah, 40. So like imagine like some 20-year-old kid came in and was trying to tell you what to do, right? And you've been there, been doing your thing, and then he's gonna come in like, well, I think we should do it this way, and and
You won't be happy.
Yeah, you'd be like, what is this little kid telling me what to do?
Yeah.
So a lot of people that are there that I feel like have been there for a while, they've been teaching, they've had other careers, and they have this guy coming in trying to tell them, hey, maybe we should do it this way. I'm trying to be on your side, so on and so
Right.
forth. Or coming in and they think that I'm going to like just change everything and just run over everything. So
Mhm.
the first year of doing this was a difficult year, but
Right.
now it's better now. Like we've all kind of know how things are. So
Were you hired to go straight into that position, or were you promoted?
I was asked to do it first, but I told him because I didn't know everyone that I
Mhm.
wasn't going to do that. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that because I did this before my old job. The other job I had, I was
Right.
doing this,
Right.
and it was a little difficult to do that. So I was like, I was like, give me 6 months, let me fill it out, and then I'll let you know. And so he did, and then 6 months in, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take this. And then at that moment, everybody was like, no.
And it took you another year.
Oh my! Well, so then, no, I got it. I got
no,
the
I
job,
mean,
but
to
I mean,
get everybody to.
yeah. So that's what we're kind of at right now.
Now
yeah,
it's
you,
good.
you
Now
it's
it's
like
good.
you
Okay.
jumped the
It's-
fence
it's
and
good
you're on
now.
the other side of the team.
Oh man,
Yeah,
Right,
you're
right.
you're the opposing team.
Right.
My particular feeling is that there are certain teachers who need to be treated with silk gloves.
I think in
There's-
every
what-
job,
yeah.
when you
isn't
manage
just-
people,
exactly. This is in everything. I agree. Like you always have to. There's
Sure, but,
always some people.
I don't know because it's so easy to find another job in teaching. The teacher has that to his advantage. He's going to come to you like, I could find another job in
Okay.
5 seconds.
Okay.
So it's so difficult to build a team of people who are, I'm not going to say loyal, but who are there for the right reasons,
Right,
not just for the money, not just because
Right.
they're getting this and that. So in that sense, it's so hard to grow a business or to build a team of teachers
Right.
when you don't have to just be so cautious with every single thing that you say.
What do you look for when you hire a teacher, Fernando?
Well, there are a couple of things. Number one is the ability to implement my method. That's
Okay.
the number one thing. And the other one is, look, for example, I'm going to ask you this question. How do you feel about contracts in China? I feel that a contract is worth absolutely nothing.
Well, yeah, because
Because you can come here and sign a contract and you get fed up with China, pack up your bags and go. What am I going to do? The employer. Am I going to sue you? I'm going to hire a lawyer internationally to do what?
So I mean specifically with teachers.
Specifically with teachers.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Because most people come here on that year, the gap year, or they're looking at doing something for a few years, and they
I would
really
s-
don't know what they're coming for.
I would say even more. Even if they don't want to keep the job, even they don't have to leave China. They'll just leave, and what can you do, right?
exactly.
Sure, but nowadays it's a little bit more difficult, and you probably know this. There's a
Because
lot
of
of
the visa.
regulations and visas, and then
Right.
they can deny the release letter and whatnot. So there's a little bit more control. It used to be the Wild East. Now it's a little bit more controlled. So as an employee, you have a little bit more power. But if the person decides to leave the country, there is nothing you can do.
But that's also on the other side too. When it comes to Chinese contracts, or I mean, not just contracts here in China, a lot of times the employer can change something, and yet they're not reprimanded for that. Yet it's because a lot of times the foreigner who's getting, this say something, because I've seen this happen, where like a contract says this, boom, 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 and then they're like, oh, or they just, how it is. There's always
I think
something
it's both
little.
sides. I think it's both sides.
That's
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, when
need
you
to
say
find good-
contracts are not valid, I feel like contracts are not valid both ways.
Yeah.
I think
Because-
for you, the experience of maybe teachers that were not up to the job, were not good attitude and everything. Maybe for teachers, it's the same with employers. Some employers,
Yeah.
The thing is that most of the employers are Chinese.
right?
And I'm not trying to denigrate, but there's many things that are to their advantage. They have connection with the government. They speak the language. They
Right.
can write whatever they want in the contract.
Right.
So when you work for me as a foreigner, everything's in English. There's no communication problem. There's no cultural
Right.
misunderstandings.
Right.
And I always put that on the table. Like, look, I'll tell you how things are. You tell me how things are, and that's it. And we'll shake hands. I'll take somebody's handshake over a signature on a piece of paper.
Would you recommend someone that want to come teach in China to go online and find a foreign employer like you?
That would be probably the best bet.
100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
if this is available, it's
It's not very available.
It's not very.
Right,
It's
right.
not something.
We're
you're just
not
like,
that many.
Can I
Yes.
get a foreigner, employer in
How
China?
can you find
They're
it?
like,
Yeah.
what? No,
No,
and then it'd
no.
be like China. You know what I'm saying? Like,
My true
Yeah.
advice is try to go for a university.
Okay.
oh, okay. yeah,
If
that
you go
makes
to a
sense.
university, it's a safe place. The workload's not too high. You're not talking about kindergartners.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
It's kind of a
I
lazy
agree.
job from what I heard.
But it again, if you're looking at a
So what?
yes,
All right.
it's a
Yeah,
Come
you can-
on,
you
are
can do other
serious?
stuff,
Like,
yeah.
you can do a lot of other things.
Yeah,
You have a
which
lazy
is
job.
yeah, which is good. Yeah.
correct. So that's my advice. If you guys want to come teach in China, don't come teach for me. Come teach for a university, and then if we meet somewhere,
Hey, even I taught in
agree, though.
China. 17 years ago when I came here.
Did you really?
Yeah, I came here from India after backpacking, right? After a girl, my ex-girlfriend, and I came here. I was 23, and then I was like, "What am I going to do here?" And I was looking for some jobs. I got some interviews at like Jews diamond factories and stuff there in Shenzhen, but I was like, I need to make money. So my girlfriend was Brazilian, so I taught some English private lessons to Brazilians.
Oh,
It was 100 RMB an hour back then.
no.
It's
not
okay,
much from close to
whatever.
what it is now. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
That's an
everybody.
interesting thing. I have a video
Right.
about the stagnation of salaries.
Mm.
20 years and it hasn't gone up that
It
much.
hasn't gone up that much.
All right. But you don't want to talk about teaching.
I really
Okay,
don't.
so
Kind of
you're a comedian.
Yes.
So before we go into that, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask. It's related. It's connecting the two.
Sure.
What's the funniest experience you had teaching in China? I wanted to ask that, and tell us the truth, please.
You have inside information.
Yeah. So actually, this happened at a company. It's funny you say that. It was a company that I worked for here.
Not here.
No, not here. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we say names or no? We don't try not to. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's a company here that has a lot of schools. That's in a training center, and it
Yeah.
has a lot of schools across China. If you come here to a training center, this is probably one of the schools that you'll go to.
You
But
got three
anyways,
options now.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Pretty
you can
much.
guess.
That's probably one of them. So I came here to Dongguan. This is when I first came to Dongguan. So I already had some like experience with little kids when I was teaching in Zhongshan, right? So I came here about a year after teaching, and I was teaching kindergartners in Zhongshan. Got here, and these kids are like, grade school. So like seriously, like the second day, there's a kid who, and this is one of the things I struggle with in China. A lot of kids are in your class who have disabilities, right?
Yeah.
And
Behavioral issues.
yes, behavioral issues.
Yeah,
And this
they're
kid
spoiled.
he was very, very, very bad, and he should not have been in the class. He was very disruptive. So one time he's like on the floor screaming and crying, and I don't do what he usually does in the whole class. And then I go to like kind of like, hey man, come on, and he like kicks me in my nuts. Bow.
The gonads.
Yeah, right as soon as he did that, my instinct is like, no. And I pulled his leg and I pulled him out of the classroom. And then I was like, nope. And I just left him out there. I was like, nope. I was like, hey, come here to the PA, the person that's like the head of the class.
teacher
I was
assistant.
like, come here. I was like, hey, he's right here. He's like, he just kicked me. He's out of the class. I'm not doing this. And then I just left him. Boom. And then he wrote me a letter about how he apologized. The parents, I had a big, huge meeting with the parents. I was like, look, I don't condone this would happen, but he can't do that. And I was like, I'm not a person to put up with that. So I don't hate. I'm
You
not
think
a bad
because
person.
Chinese teachers are more strict, so they behave better, the kids? I mean,
No, no,
don't-
no, no, no,
bro,
no,
they don't.
it's not like that.
Well,
Okay.
I don't think they act any better or worse with Chinese or Chinese
They still
teachers.
behave this way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and the problem is with the one child policy. Yeah, they're pampered and everything is
Yes.
excusable and
They can
everything
do
is
whatever they want.
so cute. Yeah, and
Yes.
they don't identify bad behavior as being
Right.
bad behavior. It's cute. It's just he'll grow up and
Right.
and a lot of times you have to understand they're raised by their grandparents,
Right.
and their grandparents will let them do everything. Just think about your
Anything.
Like
grandparents.
our grandparents.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So of course that
Okay.
kind of kicks into this too. I'm sure that
So you got kicked in the balls. Okay, I get it. All right.
that's just one of many.
Okay.
That's why I don't. I have to say I'm not a big fan on teaching little kids anymore because I have my own son now. I don't want to take it out on him. Like I hate these other kids,
Right,
and then I'm like
right.
come home like,
Right.
dang you! I don't want to do that.
all right. But you were asking about a funny. That's not a very funny story. But
I
anyway,
can, if you picture it, it's probably fun.
Yeah, it was funny when it
Yeah.
happened. I
Yeah.
guess.
all right. So transitioning to becoming a comedian, how did that happen? I mean, was it something that you wanted to do always, or what inspired you to do that? Where did that come up?
You know what's so? I mean, me growing up, I was an only child. Well, I was an only child of many children that my dad had. So
Okay.
I was the only child with my mom.
One of
But
those
my
good
dad,
fathers.
yeah,
right?
you
one
were-
of those great fathers.
Your
that
only
just stood
child.
around and-
Your
One
only
mother
child
per
on,
kid.
on your white side. You're an only child.
yeah, on my white
Okay,
side,
okay.
but then on my black side,
Kind of makes sense.
yeah, there's a lot of kids. He was that guy.
Yeah, no, get demonetized,
You know,
huh?
you know, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But anyways, I was in that family, and I was always, the biggest thing is when I was a young kid, I would always stay up and watch this show called Def Comedy Jam. When I was watching Def Comedy Jam, I used to watch Martin Lawrence, right? And I used to think to myself, oh man, I want to be just like that guy. Like Martin Lawrence is so hilarious. And so of course stand-up comedy was always something I loved anyways, because I was also a class clown. I was always in class, always making jokes, always that kid.
Getting in
I
trouble.
actually was the kid that I hate. I'm the
right.
kid that I hate right now. Like the kid that talks too much. You tell him to shut up, and he's like, okay. And then you move him, and he starts talking to the new people. You know, this is what always
Then
happens.
you understand now that was bad.
That
Okay.
very bad.
All right.
It's one of the reasons why I don't have children.
But maybe that kid that you talked about will become a comedian.
Yeah, exactly. It might. And so that's what I initially started. And then, of course, just telling stories when I got older and just kind of thought to myself, this is something I could do. And then one day, just taking that leap and going to an open mic. That was the biggest thing.
Was that in U.S. or in China? In the
U.S.
U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S.
All right. So
Yeah.
when was that?
It would have been like, my first one would have been 6 years ago. Like, it would have been 6 years ago that I
Right.
went. And then, of course, because there was a gap in that I didn't even do anything. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I moved to China, and I was like, I'm not going to do this.
What
That's
was
weird.
it? Was it
Was it a
difficult?
comedy club or?
Yeah, a comedy club. No. It was a
Whereabouts?
restaurant. It was a restaurant in Arizona.
Okay.
I came here from Phoenix, Arizona, and it was a restaurant that they do like
Open mic.
open mics at night. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I did it one time, and I actually did twice. I did twice, and both times I was just like so nervous on the stage. I don't know what I'm doing. This is weird. I think they're funny jokes, and all I did was I talked about like me going to China, because this is when I had signed the contract and I was ready to go.
Before coming.
Before coming,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And no,
Okay.
I take it back. I actually did one time when I came back for that little
Okay.
period of fixing my visa.
Uh-huh.
I did do one time talking about everything in
happened?
China, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But people, that's when I found out like people they weren't like responsive to it. They were like, cool.
They didn't get it.
Yeah, they were like, okay, whatever. You live in China.
Yeah, they
so,
don't really
yeah.
relate to China that
Yeah,
much.
they don't.
Also, it was your first times, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you do it now, if I go back now, I can make it to where people can understand, like from my point of view. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit easier now.
Sure, but the comedy scene in America is huge. It's big.
It's
It's
gigantic.
large. Comedy scene in China. Well, I understand comedians who speak Chinese
Mhm.
or Chinese comedians, but for somebody who's doing comedy in English, what are the limit? I mean,
Yeah.
what? I mean,
That's
why
the
go
biggest
that way?
limitation is the fact that, and I never even thought about it like until I started doing it. But I was just like, it is the hardest part, of course, is the people don't understand you. And that's where you got to kind of throw in some stuff that's Chinese so that you can relate to some of the Chinese audience. But I don't even know. Like, honestly, I didn't even. The only time I actually thought I could do it here is when I saw another group of people that are in another city come here and do it, and I was like,
Shanghai or
no, the Shenzhen guys.
Shenzhen, right?
And then that's when I was thinking to myself, I was like, I can do
Is
this.
that like a club or something?
Yeah, there's a
I think we can call them. What is it? Takeout comedy club.
Comedy,
right, right.
and so like Takeout came and they did a few shows, and I was thinking to myself like,
you can do it. All right, if you're watching, okay.
I'm not saying all of you. It's most of you.
All right, Rome. So we are going to go into the first break of the podcast. So we're going to do a game that we like to call This or That. The idea is what, Ziv? Could you explain it for us?
Right. We're going to ask you, we're going to give you 2 options, and you're going to choose this or that, just like that. And you can explain a little bit why you chose that. Okay?
If there's any rationale behind your answer.
Right.
Okay.
If not, that's okay too.
So
Fernando, you're starting.
Let me start. So, boobs or butts?
Butts, for sure.
It was fast.
All day,
Man.
every day.
Well, this is Asia. Where do you find the butts?
Where do you find the boobs?
It's like a magic trick. Nothing here, nothing there.
Yeah,
I would have to think about that, but you were fast. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
All right. Okay.
I'm a butt guy.
Ass man, for sure.
Ass man. That was Seinfeld. No. All right. Dog or cat?
Dog.
You got a dog?
I've had dogs. I don't have a dog here.
How to have a dog in China? Or
Yeah,
something?
I feel
Are
like
you talking about consuming them?
No.
Ooh, of course.
Yeah. Of course, China, yeah.
No, having a dog, I love. I've had many dogs. I've had cats too. I like cats, but I don't know. Dogs are more friendly. They're excited to see you when they, see you. They're like, hey, my
I
gosh.
agree.
What about big dog or small dog? I hate small dogs.
Yeah, big dogs.
I mean,
I hate
too,
small
Fernando.
dogs.
I hate small dogs. Yes.
Oh, Jappy. Okay,
just
here we go. Twitter or Facebook?
Facebook. I don't even have I have a Twitter, not even use it. I
Right.
know.
I use everything except Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why.
I have an account.
I have an
but
account too.
I stopped using it. I don't know why. I mean, it's.
I'm
I
the
don't know.
opposite. I stopped using Facebook.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And you use only Twitter now? I mean,
Well,
It's so
a little bit more.
one-dimensional.
that's
Twitter,
what I felt like.
You
I
know?
I feel like it's now you can do anything
You
on
can,
Twitter.
but
When it first came out, it was so just like tweets. And I just wasn't, I don't know. I was like, this is not.
I was
even
here
fun.
when it
trying
came
to
out.
reach a certain demographic, a certain
yeah.
market.
People
So
use
I
it.
use Twitter for that, but Facebook it just drives me insane.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. Okay.
All right. So cardio or weight?
Cardio.
Yeah.
Like,
what type?
I thought you'd say weight.
well, because I'm.
I was like,
No,
macho.
that's what I think. I think cardio just because of the fact it helps you kind of stay slim.
Yeah,
know
you
what
do
I'm saying?
that hash harriers.
Yeah,
The
Dongguan
drinking
hash.
clubs
Yeah.
with a
The thing about me, the reason I've got this here is because I drink a little bit too much.
All right. Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
That's
Listen,
the
Yeah.
inspiration,
I go
I
all the
guess.
time. I play
This is just
basketball.
water, no?
Yeah, just water.
Just water. Yeah.
Just
Okay.
is that bubbly? All right. Money or free time?
Because I have a son, money, but
Uh-huh.
I love my free time. It's hard. I don't know because you can't have good free time without having money. So
Sure.
you know what I'm saying?
What you gonna do with the free time when you don't have money? Right?
Yeah, I mean,
How about you?
All right, jokes. I don't know. I mean, money.
money, of course.
I'm Jewish after
Yeah, I was
all.
gonna say,
Hey,
you are
know,
Jewish.
You could say it. I saw you were thinking
I was
it.
very well thinking
Yeah.
it, but I'm like, maybe he'll say it. I don't. Please, if he doesn't, I'm going to.
He's lying. Okay. Monty Python or Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean. Yeah, I never got into Monty Python. I don't understand. I'm sorry. People are gonna hate me. Don't hate me. I don't ever get this whole Monty Python thing. I never got it, and people still reference it, and I'm just like, yeah.
How do you feel about SNL?
The old SNL was good. Like when I was growing up, SNL was dope. Now, I don't even know. I can't even tell you who. Keenan. I think from Keenan and Kel. Remember he was. I think he's on SNL
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
I mean, I know the white guy or the black girl.
Yeah,
I
you know
mean,
what I'm
just
saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and if I see him in movies, I'm like, ooh, they're on
That guy.
SNL. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I can never tell their
Pete
names.
David.
We're just waiting for the guests from the past and watch those.
That's all it is, man.
All
It's
right,
all
next
about the
one.
guests now.
When it comes to toilet paper, from tobacco back to front.
Front to back. If anybody is going back to front, stop. Please, if you're out there and you're going back
if you're
to
a
front,
woman,
think the
back
first
to
time
front is not. Yeah, but
girls probably do that. They go back to front, even a girl.
No, that's even worse, no?
That's what I'm saying. That's the worst,
That
bro.
is getting too detailed.
Exactly. Okay,
all
I'm
right,
sorry.
All right, next one.
You asked. Huh?
Okay, Fernando asked, yeah. Work hard or play hard?
Play hard.
Good answer there.
You know me.
Not an explanation. Yeah.
All right, we finished with a very simple one.
There is another one.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
all right.
So my last one: honesty or white lies?
Honesty. Well, I mean, I big thing on honesty. Honesty. So
Are you honest
I am.
right now?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
pretty much.
All right. The last
I think a
one.
little too honest.
All right. So laundry or dishes?
In what? I hate or I want to do
You hate.
What do you prefer?
Which one do you choose?
laundry. I
Laundry.
100% hate dishes. I
Yeah.
hate doing the dishes.
Me too. I'll cook, but just don't ask me to do dishes.
But do you know what the sad thing is at my household is I do the dishes because my wife cooks all the time. So that was the trade off. I used to want to I'm gonna cook and do all this, and then she started cooking, and my IE comes and cooks, watches my son, and so I just kind
It's
of
something that will come in life. I always tell my wife, like, one day I'll cook.
Yeah, like
And now I was alone.
when my son
for a
gets
month
older, I'll probably cook. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'll tell you, the best investment that I've made in life is a dryer and now a dishwasher.
Very important, a dryer in South China.
Oh my gosh! I'm trying to our next place we get. I'm getting a dryer. We went back to America for Chinese New Year, and using a dryer again. That is one thing. I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah,
but you
in
don't
China,
have
it's a
an
whole sun thing.
IE?
No, we do have an IE, yes, and she does our laundry, but she doesn't do the dryer. I mean, she hangs it up, and then you know how it is,
You get the
man.
wrinkles, you get the
And you smell, and it's like
it's humid. It never
They never
dries up.
do well enough. Yeah.
Never.
So no, I when I got my first big paycheck, I got a dryer and never gone back.
How
And
much
this
was
is
a
the
dryer?
It's like 5,000.
Really?
Yeah, and then earlier this year we got a dishwasher, another 3,000.
Right.
My wife absolutely loves me
loves
for
it.
it. I mean, I've been getting the best.
I mean, it's funny because back home, I don't know a house without
That's what
a
I'm
dish
saying.
dryer.
Sure.
I tried to tell my wife that. I'm
Dishwasher.
like, you always have a dryer and usually a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Not always a dishwasher, but you have
Pretty
a
much.
dryer. You have a
Alright,
washer and dryer. That
Yeah.
usually comes standard.
Right. Oh, that comfort back home.
Right.
They don't know what the.
All right,
How
guys.
good
So
they got it.
this has been this and that. Let's go on then. All right, as a comedian growing up, you say you like Def Comedy Jam. But what other influences did you have from comedy?
So I mean, like I said, being kind of the class clown, that kind of was like the big influence because everybody was always like, "You're funny, you're funny, funny." But when it comes to actually comedians, like Richard Pryor, Martin Lawrence, now that I'm trying to think,
Chappelle.
of course, Dave Chappelle, like Dave. That's just
When
being
did he
automatic.
start? When did he start? There's Chappelle.
In the 90s?
No, it was he was doing stand up in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, the Chappelle show.
And then Chappelle show in the
okay.
2000s, yeah. And then he took like that 10-year
walked
break or
away.
whatever, yeah. And that was so crazy, like to see him do that, like that just showed how he went from just this stand-up comedian doing pretty good and his show just like went berserk.
Right.
And if you have to step away from the game, that you did something, you know what I'm saying? Like he's the one who started like skit comedy and made it dope. You know what I'm saying? Like Key and Peele kind of took over and took his show and continued with his show.
They've done recently, right?
Oh,
Like
Key and
a few
Peele
years ago.
I would say no, I would say 7 or 8 years they've been doing it.
Right.
But I mean, they do the exact same thing that he was doing, and he even talks about it how they stole the show because it's exactly what it is. But it's funny. I mean, but they had a lot of other influences too. Like like we were talking about earlier, but Benny Hill. Like that was a big thing. Like growing up, like watching Benny Hill and that type of comedy was just so funny to me. That's why if you watch like on my YouTube channel or you watch
What's your YouTube channel, by the way?
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
well, we actually do me and my friend Jordan went doing is living in China with Roman Jordan. So
Okay.
check us out. I mean, we're just kind of starting off right now, but we
Link in the description down below.
yeah. And and then also I do my comedy. I have my Instagram at Jerome Bryant Comedy. So I'm just once again just starting off trying to do this
this
whole
is quite
thing.
new, right?
Yeah. I'm just starting off, man.
So
just-
British comedians. What about Ricky Gervais?
Yeah, awesome comedian. Like, but everything he does is just awesome. He's not a big influence on me. I just like watching his stuff. I mean, it's not doesn't really influence me much.
When you mean influence, I mean, we've all heard about stealing jokes. So
influence is like
how far
the
does
way that they do it.
influence?
Okay, I see you. I see. It influence would be like Martin Lawrence. I love how he's so like animated, right? And Dave Chappelle, the way he can tell a joke and he just hits you from left field, and you're just like, oh my god, I didn't even see him.
Oh, that bit what he says.
It's like a long,
long,
until the punch.
and then all of a sudden the punchline comes, and you're like, oh, dang.
You seen the bit where he tells you the punchline before?
It's
Right,
so
and
hilarious.
I saw that.
Yeah,
yes.
like
It's a genius.
it's genius, and I was just like, I want to be able to do that one day. That's my honestly, I want to be like him, just be like. And I don't talk anything about what Dave Chappelle talks about. Some stuff, but I mean, like Dave Chappelle talks about a lot of stuff that I kind of stay away from, but because I just don't like to talk about that stuff.
How about
So there's overlapping when it comes to topics, but when it comes to influences, it's more about certain aspects of the delivery or certain aspects
because
of
you
the
learn
setup.
about that exactly the setup, the delivery, even some of the things, the little nuances that they have.
Little
You
quirks.
just that I love those, and I love those. That's what makes those comedians awesome. Now, and you have to think that Chappelle was influenced by many comedians. Even Richard Pryor, he probably was influenced by comedians that he grew up watching or like knew or something like that. Everyone's influenced by somebody.
right.
So it just comes down to
Cosby.
yeah.
How about like
I was like, I think he's doing Fat Albert, but
how about
I'm not for sure.
more recent ones? I mean, not that recent, right? I think he does it for a long time, and maybe not so recent anymore. But Louis C.K.
I mean, he was an awesome comedian until I guess whatever situation he's going through right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it just sucks because like all these guys are comedians or people doing whatever they do, right? And then things happen outside of in their real lives,
Right.
and then they're looked down upon because it's whatever he was doing behind closed doors.
What
whatever, man.
about those that not outside? Like in comedy, they say something wrong.
Mm.
What do you think about that? I mean,
it's
is that
We were talking about limits.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, not even limits, but I mean something like, say it just because the day and age, everything changes, right? And everything what you can talk about and what you can't talk about changes every day. And it changes big time in decades, right? So in like say about 10 years ago, I'm not saying anything is okay to talk about, but I'm saying people talked about being gay or something like that, or it was easier to talk about stuff like that, right? And not be, and you could say whatever you wanted to say because it was freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
But then today, if say you were to say something, people are like, whoa, in the in that community, yeah, you cannot say anything.
But many comedians still think comedy is comedy, and you can talk about everything. Maybe they can't really because it will hurt their career. But like Chappelle would think that.
I mean, a lot of comedians think that. I think that's comedy. I mean, I even feel like that way. I mean, I'm not saying you can, I guess it's so hard because there's such everybody's so.
You think yes, but then you think about you too.
Because
censorship comes from within.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But this is what it is. It comes down to being like the reason why comedians are comedians is because they are sensitive as hell. You know what I'm saying? And so they're probably usually talking about stuff on there for like what you said earlier.
So there are things that you could joke about from within, but you'd feel not right if someone else would joke about that.
Or if they brought it up to me and said this, I'd be like, yo.
But if they did it on stage?
What do you mean?
Like something that may hurt you personally, but they use comedy now.
It happens all the time.
Right.
That's exactly what's funny is like if you can make it funny,
right?
That's the art of comedy.
So it's
art. Think about a guy like Ricky Gervais. I mean,
he says whatever he wants to say.
He says anything he wants about religion, and large population of this earth is deeply religious,
right?
And he goes with
whatever he is,
and he's still loved,
and everybody loves him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the weird thing is like people are like, but it's okay if he does it. You know
maybe the way he delivers, he just corrects it.
And I'm telling you, that's a lot of it comes down. If you can deliver it right, I think you can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And that's the art of.
What about like? Seinfeld doesn't do like any touchy stuff.
No, he doesn't.
It's like Peanuts. Anyone had Peanuts, right? And stuff like that.
That's the cool thing about Seinfeld. And like, I don't know if you guys remember this guy Sinbad back in the day.
Yeah, Sinbad. Yeah.
Man, Sinbad was awesome.
Yeah, just
except
hilarious.
For he didn't do anything like nothing about like cussing, about sex or anything, like nothing. And if it was about sex, it was called like Whoopi, and like it was like talking about like he made it so hilarious.
It's almost harder to make it funny.
I'm telling you, and it's almost harder to make it funny if you don't I'm there trying. I had to do that for Joe Wong. I had to do a whole thing without saying anything bad.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, how am I gonna?
Let's talk about that, right? A
am I
few
gonna
months
do
ago,
that?
we did a show here in Dongguan with Joe Wong as the headliner, right?
It was
He's
awesome.
coming to the show.
And he agreed to come to the show, hopefully sometime soon.
So click subscribe, get notifications because we might get him sometime.
Joe
Right.
Wong's
When he comes back
awesome.
to China, I think now it's difficult. But yeah. So you opened for him,
Yeah,
and how was that?
Oh man, it was good. It was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
How
Yeah.
was it?
I think I mean one of the organizers of the show, right? So I think that I mean honestly, I was when you organize something, you want it to go well, and with comedy, and we organize a lot of parties with here, but comedy is different. Like
This was
you can
first.
control it. You can we do a pool party, we can control everything. The DJs, with comedy is like would Jerome be good? I mean,
Did you review the set?
No,
No,
you worried?
no,
No?
no.
The thing about it is, like, I actually the set that I had to do, I was told like a day before, like that I couldn't do something because I actually
Right.
had something in my mind that I was gonna
No,
do.
Joe Wong asked, apparently through someone else, he asked that it be clean,
Okay.
very
Well,
clean
one
or something,
clean.
which I don't think
Yeah.
it was that, through
Let
the
me get
organizers.
my wipeout.
But I mean, no, and then, Rome got to do it, and I was like, he was the first one in my mind, and I was a bit worried, but like with anyone else, I would be the same. And you did really well.
Really well.
Yes.
How do you go about preparing a skit, a set? I mean, what's involved in the writing process, in the creative process of writing comedy?
The biggest thing is it depends on what your comedy is about. That's the biggest thing. If your comedy is about politics, then you're gonna watch political things all the time. That's what you're gonna do. Like you probably every day you're watching, you're just getting up and watching that. Mine is mostly based upon my life. And so it's not hard because every day I find comedy in my life. And so my biggest thing is I have to have either my phone around me or like a piece of paper and a notepad because at that moment I have to write it down because I'll forget it. Because I mean, I have millions of jokes that I forgot. I tell you right now, I have millions of jokes that I forgot. And that's when I finally started, I'm like, you know what, I got to do. And so now I have
Is
like
it on your phone now?
well, I have it on my phone now, but at one time I had like a shoebox full of all these little pieces of paper of all these things that
That's
I've
cool.
wrote down.
Like
Oh no, 100%.
Seinfeld has that. I mean, he did.
Oh, bro.
You saw that thing.
And so it's like it like I'm pulling out like, okay, what was I saying with this? That doesn't even make any sense.
And it's
Okay.
just an idea
An
or
idea,
the
yeah.
whole joke?
Well, unless the whole joke needs to be written down. Like a lot of times I can just give me the premise and I can remember the part we talked about. But usually now I have to write down like the beginning and then of course the punchline because that's what I come up with now. It's like
you
you
don't
have
want to
come up-
forget that.
I was
Yeah.
asking because when I shoot videos, I usually write down ideas, and then when I'm shooting, I'm like, what's I trying to
yeah,
say?
But I mean, I tried
That's
a
why
few
you have to
times.
get more
yeah,
creative.
I tried
now,
a few times, and I wrote the whole jokes like word to word, and it,
you wrote
know,
jokes.
Yeah,
he was
yeah, I
actually-
did
he actually-
some.
He's done some
And-
open mic. It's
and
pretty good.
because I I write for a long time with the the magazine content, a lot of stuff, and I write it and I like how I write it and it looks like perfect, but you can't do it like that.
No,
Then you feel committed to just do it word to
Exactly.
word, and that's the problem.
that is the problem. I
It's a
think
real
that's the
problem.
reason why a lot of times mine is it's good because of the fact that I have the premise and then I just get up there and just tell my side of this premise and then it changes from show to show because a lot of times it's not said the exact same way as the last time. And sometimes this new way that I just come up with at the moment is like, whoa, this is way better than that
So
last
boom,
time.
implemented.
Yeah. And then, or maybe I was like, oh, you know what? I tried something new and it didn't quite work out. People didn't like it. I'm not going to do it that way this time. You know?
But I think it's the other way is it's terrifying to me. Like I just wouldn't remember what to say. So like if I memorize, I would know what to say, but then it wouldn't be good because I just recite.
So that's why you stick with
there's,
what you're
there's
doing.
like I think that there's like a tipping point in a joke. So you got your premise, you build up to it, and then punchline. So that's what you gotta have very clear where the punchline is and the whole setup.
You know, and this all depends on what kind of jokes you're going to tell because not every joke has a punchline per se. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times people just tell stories or because I'm kind of a story guy too, but most of my stories have a punchline at the end coming somewhere in there. Like, so you don't know it and then something you're like, this guy,
yeah.
look at this guy. He's look at this guy with a funny joke in the end there. But I'm saying like, that's what That's what mine is. Some people, they just don't have like and some people are like Joe Wong is like the joke, the joke,
Right.
the joke.
And
It's
some
like
are more
instantly,
like that, yes.
like one-liners, boom, boom, boom. Like it's not,
Right.
he's not
I
looking.
saw him on Colbert, and it
Right.
was
That's
Yeah.
what he
Big,
is.
but
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it just depends on what kind of comedy you like.
Right.
Like if you give me a few minutes, I'm gonna make you laugh. And I'm gonna make you laugh in between too. But his is like laugh, and then laugh, and then it's so it's a little bit different, you know.
Right.
What about voices, faces? I mean, I'm talking Jim Carrey, for example.
Oh man, yeah. Jim
do you
Carrey
do
was-
any of that?
You know, because we do in our YouTube channel, and like stuff, a lot of stuff we do because we like to just mess around and like do skits and stuff like that. So we are into acting. We're into acting and stuff like that, but it's not to the extreme as like Jim Carrey. Where I mean, I'm not like falling on the ground, like rolling around, laughing or being all crazy or anything like that, like The Mask or something like that. No.
But you would do a sitcom. I mean, that's like something you would love.
Oh yeah. If I
Yeah.
can do something like that, that would be awesome. Heck yeah. I
Right,
mean, so
right.
anybody out there, sitcom,
Yeah.
if you want to have me on your show, I'm ready. I'm ready. So
Instagram,
yeah,
email,
Instagram, yeah,
contact,
let me
Twitter,
know, yeah.
down
What-
there
What's the mecca of comedy?
The
What's,
what?
What's the you know
in
the
China.
place in China and I mean first in the West? You know what's the place where you made it if you did it there? Like
LA, the comic club.
Well, yeah. In New York, if you're like
Oh.
in New York and but the thing about it is, even comedians like that are in New York are working their ass off, like every night, open mics, like and getting paid to do this. You know what I'm saying? Or some are getting paid, but some aren't, and they only get paid from when they go and do like a show or And now that it's coming with these like a YouTube vlog or something like that, they're getting paid to go on these or something like
Right,
that, or
right.
they're getting paid to go on a show, or getting paid to go on Ellen, or getting paid to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
These little things. But I mean, I think it's when you start getting paid, you've made it.
Mhm.
I feel like that's when you can be honestly called a comedian. You know what I'm saying? It's
you're
because
professional.
yeah,
You get
because when
paid.
you're getting paid to make me people laugh, I mean that's
That's it. You're professional.
you're that's it. I mean, so I'm not saying like you might not be the most professional comedian yet, but I think once you've kind of started getting paid, then you're professional. Now, that level of professionalism, that can go to the ceiling. Who
Yeah,
is
you
the
got
most
the
professional
Madison Square
comedian?
Garden. You got the
Exactly.
Apollo.
That's,
You
oh my
got so
gosh.
Do you do
those kind of
different kind of
arenas.
jokes here, or if you do it in the US, do you need to write it differently, or do
Of
you need to do
course.
anything different?
So I already found that out going to Malaysia,
Okay.
because Malaysian Chinese is different than Chinese Chinese. And then being in Malaysia, they have a lot more. So in KL, that's where I went, and I did a couple open mics there. And being in KL and doing jokes, I had to change my jokes because they wouldn't quite get some of the jokes that I was talking about in China. I thought they would, and then I did one, and I was like, oh, maybe you guys don't get that.
It's not the same
quite as
kind of
well. Yeah,
Chinese.
it's not the same kind of Chinese, exactly. And there's a lot of Malay people who don't understand the Chinese culture. And then there's a lot of people, like Indian people, who don't understand, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, oh, I thought everybody just understood Chinese because there's a lot of Malaysian Chinese here. Guess not.
Yes.
So, just like everybody speaks Malay there, and I don't even,
You can hear the mic actually drop.
right? So I was like, oh, I got to change that the next time.
So bombing.
I didn't really bomb because there were Chinese people in there. They laughed, but I'm
Right.
saying the people that weren't Chinese weren't laughing.
Are you more nervous to go up back home in the US or in China, or you're not nervous at all by now?
Now I'm kind of gotten over the nervous part. When I was back home, this is one cool thing. I went to like one of my friends' barbecues, right? And they had a barbecue for me, like coming back. And my mom, my son, and my wife went. We all went there, right? And there was about 20 people ish, a little under. And they're always like, they're, oh, you do comedy now. You do comedy now. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna do like a
Tell us
comedy
a
show.
joke.
Yeah.
Tell us a joke.
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a comedy show. They're like, come on, man, come on. So they're bothering. And finally, like, I've had a few drinks, and I'm like, all right, whatever. But I was like, man, I'm going to do comedy in front of these people that are going, these are the ones that are going to judge me. I really don't,
Right.
I don't care about everybody else's judgment, usually.
Strangers.
Yeah, strangers'
Yeah.
judgment, I don't care. And I'll make fun of you, I don't care.
Right.
But these are the people that I really do care about what they think,
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to make these people laugh. And honestly, they loved my jokes. And at the end, I felt like, this is it. I'm happy
I make
now.
them cry.
Yeah.
I make them laugh.
If I make them laugh, because they're the ones that are like, he ain't going to make me laugh. No way, no way, no.
Keep trying.
Yeah, keep trying. No, that's not even funny. And then all of a sudden, they're like, that was funny. That was funny.
That was good. Good
Validation.
feeling.
They're like, dang, and I was like, okay.
Well, you talked about family. How did your wife take it when you decided to become a comedian? I mean, was she supportive of your career?
You know what's funny is I
Baby.
told her from day one. I was like, this is one of the things I want to do with my life. And I said, if you are not along for the ride, I was like, this isn't going to work out. This is before my son, before we got married, before this is like the first date we had.
Does she think you're funny? That's.
I mean, of course she does.
Is being funny being funny easier to pick up girls
I don't know. I don't pick up girls.
anymore? Hey, I wanted to talk about hecklers.
Yes.
How does that work? How do you handle them?
Oh man, I'm not good with hecklers, but
Anger management.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the thing about the hecklers. This is the thing. At a regular show, I don't care. I'm gonna make fun of you, or I'm just gonna ignore you. I don't care. But at an open mic, I hate hecklers at an open mic because an open mic is like, this is where people come to try. Right? They're coming to try. Like they're putting everything out. You know how hard it is to get on that stage in the first place. And second, I need to make you laugh. Those are the two hardest things to get on that stage and do. And then you're going to make fun of that person for getting up there and doing that. Like that shows how much of a coward you are. And it makes me so angry. And so I hate that. I hate that.
Did you get it a lot?
Not a lot. No, I mean,
got some.
But people get drunk. You know how it is.
Right.
We've all dealt with drunk people before, and people get drunk and they're like, "I'm just gonna say what I want to say,"
Right.
and then you're like, "Nope, you probably shouldn't," because now you're looking like a dumbass.
What's the right way to handle them?
Ignore them.
Ignore them.
I would probably say just ignore them.
Okay.
And if you have the point where you can have like security in a place,
Right.
escort them out.
Do they take them out?
honestly?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say like the biggest thing about hecklers. I mean, that's why you go to any comedy club. They say immediately from the beginning, do not heckle and do not say anything. And if you are and you're saying it, we're gonna kick you out. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Because this. You came to watch a comedy show.
Right.
Come on, man.
And it throws you off your game, I suppose.
Oh,
Kind of like,
big
and
time.
if you're busy thinking of a comeback or whatnot, it just throws you off your game.
If you're this is the thing, and if you're really good at that, then they might let the heckling come. You know what I'm saying?
They
Or
want it.
yeah, it's almost
Who's really good at that? What's his name? Peter Russell?
yeah,
Russell
Russell
Peters.
Peters. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
He's
one of my
really good
favorites
at it.
comedians too. And I love him.
I've seen you I think you're rooting for other comedians, right? You want the other
always,
comedians. Is it like this in the industry? Or is there a
don't-
jealousy?
I don't feel like
Or is
it.
it a dog eat dog kind of thing?
I feel like everywhere else I've been, I feel like it's a dog eat dog. Like when I was back in Malaysia, I feel like maybe some of the other comedians were cool, but they did not like the fact that an American was there trying to do comedy.
Oh.
They didn't like that, and
Really?
maybe I could have taken things wrong, and I mean if I am, I'm sorry. But I just felt like a lot of comedians probably were like, ugh, like
Maybe they're just threatened, they're insecure.
of course,
Yeah.
dude, when you hear my comedy, that I feel you're gonna feel that way. So that's when I get up on the stage. I'm
So
like, hey,
you did comedy in China, in Dongguan, where you live, right? You run the open mic here,
yeah,
and you did Xiamen,
yep, we
right?
did a
In
show in
Fujian,
Xiamen. Yeah,
right? You did a show there, the
Yeah.
Dongguan invasion, I think,
yeah,
right?
it's cool.
And where else did you do comedy?
We do it in Shenzhen. We've gone to Shenzhen too.
Okay.
So those pretty much the only places there.
And
those
then in
three
Malaysia,
places. In Malaysia, and
so
America,
where else
yeah.
can you do comedy in China? If someone is here in China or someone is coming to teach or whatever, but they're like interested in doing stand-up comedy,
Shanghai is like probably the biggest place.
It's the New York of China.
Yeah, pretty much because they
Yeah.
have a lot of places and you can go to open mics like pretty much every other night. I've heard.
Oh, really?
So, like they have them in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's a good
Hong
place
Kong,
to
yeah.
go because they have a lot of open mics there as well. If you're just trying to get started, I mean, and then of course Beijing's got some too. Those are the biggest places.
Are you planning to go?
I want to go
Right.
to Shanghai and I want to do my thing in Shanghai a little bit. I want to do it there. I'm going to go down in Hong Kong, go do some shows in Hong Kong.
Okay.
But
close. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. I don't mean to pry, but
No.
money-wise, how different is it from the States? Is it a lucrative? I mean, are the levels, or do you have
I'm
an
sure that-
agent, for example?
Yeah, when it gets into that, when it comes to making money, that's a whole different thing. Like making money is it's just like because comedy here in China isn't that
think
much
it's
of a
very
demand.
tough, right?
Yeah, it isn't
Yeah.
that much of a demand.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in America, it's just exploded. So many people do it, so they can charge
It's
very, very
saturated.
yeah, it's very saturated. But in that, you have like these awesome people who make millions and millions and millions, right? And then everybody else kind of just is like underneath this
Grind.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like grinding. It's like just with anything you think of, like musicians, people who
You got the cream of
But
the
you
crop.
can make,
and
but it's easier to make money as a musician in China because someone is opening a new mall and they need a foreign face to sing, and
Yeah.
right?
they don't do that here for
For
foreign comedy.
Right.
It's like
Mhm.
I can't go tell a joke at the new opening of the mall and they'd be like, "What's he saying?
Right,
Like, who
right.
is this guy?"
What?
Right.
Could you say that again?
Yeah, yeah. So, but is there any chance? I mean, like
That was really good. I like that.
Well, sometimes when I talk to people, it just comes out like this. But
That's like Russell Peters when he's
I got it from him.
kind of yeah.
Be a man.
Yeah, man.
The show I mean, like Xiamen, I guess you did get paid, but I mean, like it's hard, right? I guess, yeah.
It's
Because all those things that you're saying, oh, I'm going to do Hong Kong, I'm going to do Shenzhen, those are lined up already as just open mics.
Yeah, well, I just go there to do open mics. The thing about it is, getting a show is just so difficult. Like you almost have to have like a manager or something like that to just constantly reach out to somebody. You also got to find the comedy clubs or the comedy like little rings that people have, and then getting a show. Because that's how we got out to Shaman. We just reached out to the guys out there and said, "Hey, we have some guys in Dongguan that want to do this," and they're like, "Yeah, come down for sure." And then, so it depends. I mean, and then if you have the biggest thing too is if you got to kind of show that you have something,
But
to
I mean,
show.
you got paid not much, I know, for like Joe Wong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But like that's maybe what someone singing we get paid, but they can do it every night.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, in comedy, we do
Right.
it once, every
Right.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, or something like that.
Right.
But that's the next step. I mean, that's the first. Like that was a step from like way back when I first started my own first open mic was getting my first like paid
gig.
show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it doesn't
And
matter
now,
how much.
yeah,
right,
it doesn't.
yeah.
I don't care. Whatever
Yeah.
I could get paid in beer. I don't
Right,
care. Just
right.
paid show. Give me something.
Right.
Give me something for being here. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciation.
Yeah. And then once that happened, now okay, my next step is like getting an actual like paycheck. You know what I'm saying? A good paycheck from this. And then the next one is maybe even getting something where it's reoccurring. Okay, these guys is that good. Let's do something like that.
So you can practice here, but you can't really get rich here from comedy.
No,
No.
this isn't.
Not the
I'm not.
place.
I'm not looking to get rich
Right,
in China. That's the
right.
thing. I'm just looking to pad my stats.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
So, what is the natural progression for you? I mean, from a professional level, you sound like you want to move away from teaching and dedicate more time into comedy. But if
Yeah, I mean, well, I wish that was it. I wish I could be like, you know what? I don't want to teach anymore. I want to be a comedian.
But life is
Yeah, life-
not that simple.
Life is
Don't
not
work
that
like that,
simple.
baby.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I wish that was what I could do, but a lot of things have to happen in the in between for that to happen. So
Uh-huh.
But I mean,
Um,
if you're really good, right?
Yeah.
And you make a name for yourself,
That's
you
the
could
biggest thing.
tour. You
Yeah,
could
yeah.
tour in
If-
Asia, even go back
Exactly.
to the US, come back here,
and
whatever.
that's what the progress, the
Hong
progression I
Kong.
hope happens is like I make my name. It's already starting. You know what I'm saying? You just get out there a little bit, and they're like, oh, this guy Rome, or
Right.
Jerome, or something like that.
Right.
He came from Dongguan. Have you heard about him? And then like I go and they see me and they're like, oh, he is actually kind of funny. That's cool. And then just more and more and more
Yeah.
talk. And then now I can actually get
Yeah.
shows, and then I can start touring. And then from that point on, then who knows what
Yeah, he was on that, of course, China
Yeah, oh my
podcast.
gosh.
Yeah,
yeah, those guys that got rich with a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He
yeah.
was on there. That was how we got famous.
Yeah.
That's how they got famous.
Right.
Because he was on there.
All right.
All right.
All right. So now we're gonna play a nice game called "What's Up with This."
What's up with this?
This is where I'm going to show you a picture you put on social media,
Yes.
and you're gonna tell us what's up with this.
Can't wait.
All right. So the first one,
Oh, you're gonna do a few of them.
I do a
no.
couple.
Uh-huh.
I do a couple. If my phone's gonna work, right?
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I'm gonna do a couple pictures, and the first one's gonna be this one.
That's on my day I got married in Malaysia.
You got married in Malaysia.
Well, we got married at one time in America, and then 6 months later, June 10th was in Malaysia.
That's
and
what
this was like
happens.
the
What's in the picture?
so this is her brothers, and then my wife, Bryant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about that day?
That day, wow. It was crazy actually. It's a crazy thing because like I don't know if you see the way I'm dressed,
Yeah.
and then like the things you have to do to get your wife. Like there's so many. I mean,
Is it like here, like in China, kind of
a little bit
similar?
So it's similar.
You gotta go home, pick her up.
Exactly.
And
You
just,
gotta
like,
go to her
fight
friends.
for her.
Yeah, you have to fight for
Find the
but
shoe
You don't have
or
to.
no?
You don't have to fight. You have to do all these games that her.
Convince her.
Yeah, like and her
Bridesmaids.
friends and bridesmaids. Yeah, they're out there and they're making you do all these crazy things.
Like you're not gonna get her so easily.
Exactly.
You convince us to.
So you play all these games.
What's the stuff that you wear? What's that called? Does it have a specific name?
There is a name, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. My
Wear
wife was
this.
like, "You need to wear this," and I was like,
Alrighty.
"Yep." I was
are
like,
you drunk in this picture?
No. Oh, so you see this? I have a black eye in this picture. Actually,
Right.
it's not from a fight. It's actually from basketball.
Oh,
I got
okay.
elbowed in the eye. Yeah,
Right.
it was like right before we are about to get married, and my wife's like, "Really?"
What'd you do?
Yeah, like really? You have
Yeah.
and this dude. I mean, honestly, no, I didn't even get elbowed. This dude actually hit me just like with his finger on my eye when we were balling, and he came down, he blocked, like tried to block me, but hit me in the eye, and it just sprouted up.
All right. Okay.
I'm not drunk.
That
enough.
was when you marry internationally, you always have two weddings. I mean, like
It
you
is,
know,
I
like,
think, yeah.
Did you have two weddings?
No.
No.
Oh no.
No.
Did you
Son
have-
here, son there.
All right. Okay.
That's about it.
All right. So the next picture is this one.
Oh, dope. Yes. This is when we went to with Bronson the first time. So that's my mom.
So this is you and your mom,
Yeah,
your
and my
wife,
son. Yeah.
and your son
And
Bronson.
we're at a Phoenix Suns basketball game. This is when the Houston Rockets came, and so we got to see like James Harden play. It was pretty dope. But I mean, it's just I wanted to take my wife and my son to a game. She's never really seen
Did she
like
enjoy?
oh yeah, they loved it. Yeah, it was cool.
Who won?
Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this is Phoenix Suns your favorite team?
No. My favorite team is San Antonio Spurs because I mean I wearing Dallas Cowboys hat in there. Like I'm Texas all day.
Right.
But Phoenix Suns, we used to live in Phoenix, so we would. I mean, my mom lives in Phoenix, so when we go there, we can go to the games and watch other teams come and play.
Right.
So that's a cool thing about it.
I know you love basketball, and I know you play quite well. If I ask you, like, would you prefer being like an NBA player or a big comedy star, big one?
Man, that's a
Which
good
one would you?
Ugh.
It's a difficult one.
That is difficult.
That's the hardest
because,
question of the day.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's seriously basketball. Yeah.
All right. So let's keep on talking with Jerome. Jerome or Rome?
You know, whatever you want to call it. I'm actually the only reason I started going by Rome. All my friends back in America call me Rome, my close friends. But the only reason I really started doing it here was because of the fact that this is kind of giving away a little bit of my joke. But the fact is, like, Jerome sounds like Juro. And a lot of times in Chinese, like I'll say my name's Jerome, and they're like, Juro? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, and they're like, Juro. I'm like, yeah.
Juro.
And then that's the thing, like Juro.
But I never heard anyone calling you Jerome. Never.
That's what I'm saying. Like here,
Anyone
they
here?
don't.
No.
They don't. Like because it's been strictly Rome since I moved to China because of this.
How does your
And
mom call
so-
you?
Yeah.
What she say?
Jerome.
Jerome.
Yeah.
But do you have a
my whole-
Chinese name?
I don't. You know, I never.
Really?
I just never. I
Never
like
needed it or never wanted it?
both. I'm not so much. I never wanted it. I just never could come up with something good. And the ones that people come up with are like, I don't know, like it's just like my friend Azizi. He's like
Blossom
his is
flower.
like small black dragon.
That's
Xiao
You got
Hei
a
Long.
tattoo?
So hey long, yes.
he got a tattoo.
Yeah.
Like
and
that?
so and I'm like, ugh, that's so cliche of a Chinese name, right? So then I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna get a name because I'm gonna think I need to be the tall yellow. I don't know.
But you're
whatever.
unofficially Juro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Unofficial.
Do not,
No,
do
you're
not call
not.
me Juro.
Juro.
All right. So this is the part of the show where we talk a little bit about China and China issues, right? So I understand that you have strong positions. So what do we talk about? You said earlier that you identify yourself as half black, half white.
Mhm.
How has that affected your life in China?
Well, I mean, kind of like we talked about earlier. I mean, being becoming a teacher or just doing that or just being accepted in general is very hard because I get associated as a black person. I mean, and here it seems like if you're white, it's wow, you have to be amazing. If you're 100% white, you must be. Everything must be awesome about you. And it's just that's one of the difficult things when I mean I'm sure for people who come here and they're trying to date people, especially Chinese girls or something like that. I'm sure that because I've had friends that are black that have run into this situation where it's hard for them to date girls because they think that something's wrong with them because they're black. I've had white friends here in China.
But is that the girl or is their families, for example? Because I think that girls are okay. Because I think that the fact that they want to get serious with somebody and they have to bring that man to their family.
That may be what they're running into.
But it's not like it doesn't exist back home. Maybe it was back home, right?
Yeah, it's definitely back home too. It is definitely back home. I mean, this is something derived from home though, bringing it to China and then just dealing with it differently here because you don't see people. It's not like American racism. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's not as deep.
No, it's
right?
just it's so you can tell what it is, you know, at the very topical part of it. It's like, oh, they just want someone white. That's just what it is, it seems like. I don't know.
So in your face?
You know, actually,
because I mean, what I'm saying, like in the West, people, nobody wants to be called racist or anything. So everybody's trying to cover it up. They don't want to be seen as, you know what I mean? But here in China, it's blatant. I mean, I've heard people say.
I've heard people say they don't know that they're racist. Like,
what do they say when you tell them you're racist?
They're like, no, I'm not. How could I be racist? We don't even have, you know, racism here. And I'm like, but that's what you're doing right now. This is exactly.
You need to educate them what is racism before they understand.
Exactly.
Did you ever had anyone like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that is wrong. Did you have anyone realize?
No, okay, but let me ask you a question. The table, we are called Waigoran. Black people are called Heiren.
Right.
Most times,
really?
black people are not called Waigoran.
Right.
How do you explain that? I mean,
they're putting in. Yeah, they're just basically going based off their skin color.
Like if
you're Heiren, which is black people, or all the others that are not. That's pretty much what they're saying.
Right.
So it's they do create a line that says, okay, this is Waigoran, which is basically a person from abroad, a foreigner, and then there's the black people.
But in their mind, this isn't racism.
You guys in the industry, right? Teaching, do you correct? Do you take the time to correct? Do you get upset in their face? Do you
not upset?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Because a lot of times they don't. If they're kids, they don't even know. You know.
Sure, but these kids have parents, and let's be real. These parents are wealthy. These parents are educated. These parents have not done their homework.
Right.
So I make it a point to talk to the parents and like, for example, I had a student call a teacher. I had a black teacher. Called him Hey Ren. I went nuts. I'm like, you're not coming here. Take your money. Sorry. So like, you better educate. I mean, we are teachers. We don't educate. We teach. We just give them a skill.
But wait a second.
Values, and they come from home.
We also say black people.
All
right. Yeah, but you.
I mean, they could tell you that. Hey, you say too. You know.
That's a good point, but there's not a differentiation between foreigner and black people. I mean, how would you?
Is it okay to say black people? That's normal today. I mean, but it's not.
Depends.
Is it wrong?
It depends. Like it depends on your audience. It depends on the black audience that you're listening to.
I say
there's. I'm telling, just like say the N word, right?
Right.
We were kind of discussing this, but the N word is very. This word is probably the worst word you could say to anybody that has black skin color, right?
Right.
Or is black. You know what I'm saying? Like
not because of the word, because of the history with the word.
Of course, yeah. And then you say that word, and people say it. You know, like in America, people say it like we say it to our friends and stuff like that.
Right.
That's probably not good. Probably shouldn't be saying that way either. But for someone to come up and say something like that in your face, if for me, it would, I want to fight you because I've been through so much in my life with that.
I say white people a lot, but I have to, every time I say it, it feels a little wrong. It does.
When you say white people?
Yeah, because saying white people is like saying, like, it's, it's the same thing, right? If I say white people, then
I have a question. What about in America? I mean, if you have an Asian person, a Chinese person in America, is that person a foreigner or a Chinese?
They're Asian.
You're Asian.
Asian is correct, I guess.
But that's, I mean, like, that's what, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, the usual thing, the context of Chinese, Japanese, Korean, like, everybody just kind of goes under Asian. You know what I'm saying? They're Asian. I mean, that's what I've seen. I'm not saying
it's a
100%.
description, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that Asian guy, or
So would that
he
make
was
it okay
Asian,
also?
or you could say he had a black shirt instead of saying that. I mean,
No,
But I
I
guess-
mean, what
but I
I'm trying
guess-
to get to is I'm actually kind of thinking about my action when I went nuts over this little girl that went to the teacher,
right?
hey, Ren, because you're right. We also call black people black people.
Right.
So, like, if, in America, if you were to see a bunch of black people, now you don't know if they're from, Africa or wherever, they're from America, right?
Mhm.
But they have that they have darker skin.
Yeah.
Just like you're from Colombia, right?
Yeah.
You have people that have darker skin than me,
Yeah.
that are Colombian, but they would be considered black, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a bunch of them and you see them, you would call them black people. And then you saw a bunch of people over here, regardless of where they're from, but they're white. They have that, pale skin, white people. You know what I'm saying? So I guess
Right.
now
The
that
same
I mean,
thing.
bringing it up, I guess you're right. I mean, like, I didn't even think about that, but
Saying
I
white
guess
people
saying
is
hey
the same.
Ren, hey Ren, and saying white people or
It's the
saying
same like saying black
white
people.
Ren, but they don't say white people. They say
But we don't say,
foreigners.
Yeah.
So black people are still foreigners,
but
right?
I would never say yellow. Like even Chinese people, they say they're yellow. Like I've heard it from.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
It's
that's
weird
horrible. Yeah.
to say that. You know what I mean?
What about this experience that you've had with discrimination lately here in China? You wanna-
Right. With this situation recently, they're being afraid with people coming from other countries.
Oh my goodness, we've been going through this a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, recent days, I've seen more and more people walking away from me.
Uh-huh.
So every time I had this experience, it upsets me. It's the first time I deal with discrimination in my life, I would say, even though I'm Jewish. Growing up in Israel, never really had that experience. And it hurts me because I feel like it's my home here. So suddenly
Well,
I realize,
What was the detail of the experience? Sorry, because people don't really know.
right. So, with the virus and coming from outside, they think maybe from Italy or from different countries, you have a chance that you have it, and they see a foreigner, they just classify it as maybe he got it, and they walk away from you. I had it on the subway.
Mm-hmm.
People just walked away from me. The other day, I wanted to go to the vet to visit my cat, was sick, and they didn't let me into the street. There was a checkpoint, with a fever, taking the temperature, and they saw foreigners. The police came, and my daughter was crying, like, why they're not letting us in? And I was like, guys, and they were nice, personally nice, but I was like, I was here this whole time, right?
It's just the rule, or
I think they were covering their asses. I think I think it was. They say something like it's the last day of checking because recently the situation was good here, right?
Mhm.
And then they just didn't let me in, and I had a code. I was like, I was here the whole time. My wife is American. I'm Israeli. I'm like, I'm from Israel, because America is in deeper shit right now. But and they just didn't let me in, and I was like, it happened to me a few times before, and I got too upset, and I was like, guys, I know you're doing your job. I know you're doing your job, but when people did it in other countries to Asians a month ago, I was very unhappy about it. I was very mad about it, and now you're doing the same, right? You're unreasonable. I mean, I didn't come here yesterday. I can show you everything, but they just didn't want to take the risk, right? So I think I consider this my home. And suddenly you realize, it's not your home, I guess. You are a foreigner, and you feel discrimination is you feel it stronger. And the first time feeling it is like, shit, that's what black people in some places have to deal with all their life. And I mean, Jews in Europe, 70 years ago, and Asians, right? It's really bad. So it makes you think about it more.
I only have experiences with discrimination when I cross borders. So you show your Colombian passport and this way, sir, can we have a word with you?
And it makes me think. It makes me think about something that my people discriminate a lot against. I mean, Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
This is really bad, right? I mean, how many Muslims are terrorists? It's a small percent, but they're all labeled.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you incorporate any of this racial background and your history with discrimination or experiences into your comedy at any point?
Of course.
Yeah?
That's a lot of what I talk about. I talk a lot about race and a lot about my experiences that I've gone through in my life, dealing with being light-skinned, like all of the things I go through with all of my friends and all of the shit I've gone through with like dating girls and growing up and just the cops. Oh,
you have discriminations from both sides.
Oh yeah,
Did you experience discrimination from both sides?
Both sides, yeah, definitely.
So it's like double.
Yeah, like because I'm always the white guy or always the black guy.
Right.
And then yeah, it's I'm telling you, man, it's exactly what it is.
That's a recipe for some good jokes.
It helps. It
There's
definitely
material right there.
Yeah,
Right.
good material. Yeah. Is there anyone like that in comedy that you see?
Not really who throws out because there's not a lot of light skinned comedians out there, but there are some, I'm sure, and I'm sure they talk about this because we all go through it, being
Right.
light skinned, and that's the thing. Like my nickname back home was light skinned Rome.
Do you
They call me LSR. Yeah,
really LSR?
yeah, LSR.
Yeah. Do you think your son will ever experience this kind of issues?
He only will when he is around his parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only unfortunate thing is my son is always going to be probably like, dude, this kid's so cool. Oh my God. And then I'm going to walk in and be like, oh shit, that's your dad? Is he black? Like, yeah, you're black.
So your son is super white.
He looks super white. Yeah. But I mean, the thing, and like, they'll see like his mom and be like, you're Chinese? Like, or hear him speak Chinese to my mom, like to his mom, and like,
I think that's very cool.
oh man,
Very cool.
He speaks better Chinese now than I do, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, he's only 2. He just turned 2, and I'm just, oh man, this kid's gonna be.
How can you make your kid strong to endure the kind of discrimination that
Talk to him.
well, not he probably is not going to get it, but he's going to be facing discrimination against his parents. That's
Talk
a
to him.
totally different.
I'm telling you right now, you may think that talking to a kid and trying to explain this is impossible, but if you just talk to him, like I'm telling you, man, there's so many things I just tell my son, and they're like always telling me like, you can't do that, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're just very open, right?
Yeah. So yeah,
Real.
you just got to
just
talk
real,
to him.
yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
All right. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for watching, and well, Jerome,
Thank you,
Rome,
guys.
Thank you very much for joining
Thank you,
us.
Rome.
And
That's awesome.
well, remember to follow us in all our social media. That's right here. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified whenever there's a new video out. And well, my name is Fernando, and this is,
I'm Ziv.
and this was, of course,
China.
see you later,
All right,
guys.
guys.